As we continue through the knowledge module, the next stop is our documentation spot. And so Docs is pretty lightweight and pretty simple. And there's something behind the scenes on this that I think is really special that I wanted to call out. And that is, first of all, on its surface, it is just a documentation hub. And let's differentiate that from the knowledge base. So the knowledge base is going to be really knowledge that you want to have user facing. So if you want to look at it this way, the things that are in the knowledge base are things that your submitters, your teachers, your students, anyone who has an account can go to that knowledge base and see the articles. Now, Docs is going to be more for that internal technology documentation kind of thing. So network diagrams, conditional access policy, retention, all those kinds of internal types of things. Now, the way that Docs is set up is on its surface, it can just be all created and managed inside of here. So I can say new article. I can give it a category. Say this is a backup of my Microsoft 365 conditional access policies. And I can just put a placeholder there so we know it's our policies. I'm going to tag this M365. I'm going to tag it configs, whatever you want to use for your own internal tagging system. And then I'm going to create the article. All right, so now article's created. Now by default, out of the box, when you create a documentation article, it is going to save inside of Support Studio K-12. So it's going to be part of the nightly backup that's going to our bucket in the cloud. It's saved on the server where the rest of your help desk is. Now, one of the things when we were making Support Studio that we wanted to be really conscientious of is vendor lock-in. And so we've had experiences in my district before where we have purchased a documentation solution to house our documentation, and we get to the point to where, it's maybe not meeting our needs anymore, but then we are stuck because we can't fully export everything. We can't, it feels like we don't own that information because to put it somewhere else besides that subscription-based platform that we're using, we'd have to copy and paste and move all of the things over one at a time, and that's very unwieldy. So one thing that we built in to our Docs is the ability to connect this to your SharePoint. So we're going to take a quick detour over to our admin panel, and we are going to go to integrations. And there is a place on our integrations tab for us to be able to connect this to a Google Workspace or SharePoint through Microsoft Azure. And when we do that, instead of saving all of your knowledge base articles inside of the platform, it's actually going to save them to your own district's SharePoint or Google Workspace shared drive. So that way you can create the articles here. So I would still go and I would still create an article, but instead of saving it on the server in the platform, it's going to save it to your district-owned file repository, either in Microsoft 365 SharePoint or Google Workspace in a shared drive. And so that's one way we really wanted to prevent vendor lock-in. So you would feel like anytime you invested putting documentation into Docs wouldn't be lost if you ever had to move platforms. Now, if you don't include those, if you don't integrate with SharePoint or Workspace, you can still export the tech docs. It would just be in a CSV or JSON format instead of a Word document format. So in a nutshell, that's what TechDocs does. It's just here for you to capture that kind of internal documentation, but also to do it in a way where you're not tied into using Support Studio K-12 for documentation forever. And again, if this is a feature that you don't want to utilize, it is very easy to toggle it off in the admin settings. All right, in a nutshell, that is documentation and what it looks like inside of our Support Studio tech stack.